In this video, I'm going to share with you one big tip to help you stay highly effective and centered throughout the busiest month of the year, December. Welcome back to the channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome from myself and the crew at Seva Academy. My name is Supriya. I'm the founder of Seva Academy, and I'm a self-mastery coach that helps women in entrepreneurship and life lead with ease and confidence. Every month, I've been doing an energy management tips podcast, and this is for December. And in this month's podcast, I'll be sharing with you one big tip for you to stay highly effective and centered throughout the busiest month of the year. Hey, I was wondering, have you joined our Facebook group yet? And if you haven't, check out the link in the description box below. This is where I shared last week's goal setting formula workshop, and this is where you can get in touch with me personally to ask any questions that you have. The content that I shared last week was invaluable to one of the participants that attended, and this is where I shared how to create a life on your terms following our 8-step method. If this is something that's hitting a chord in you and you're ready to take meaningful steps toward your personal development, toward those results that you're looking for, toward creating the life of your dreams, then wait no more, my friend. The longer you leave it, the longer you're going to have to work towards it. I want to encourage you to take the next step and click on the link for the clarity call that's also in the description box below to have a chat with me to help you take the next step on your journey. And it's completely free. So I've got 5 spots available this month. So hurry up, get in touch. At least you'll know better. This month's energy management tips. There is only one tip for this whole month that I have to share with you that will help you navigate the whole month's array of adversity. Have you been the person or know a person that will always habitually complain about having spent too much money, overindulged during the holidays, being the punching bag for others and always feeling like you were treated unfairly, not receiving equally from those that you care about? Maybe you're the person that gets left behind doing the washing and the cleaning and the organizing and everything else, and you're not getting enough rest during the holiday season. And maybe you've also not been feeling cared for emotionally. If you're that person, then I have this practice for you. Also, if you're not that person, but you have people in your life that, need some help to come out of this cycle, then this is the podcast, this is the episode for you, where you get to learn and teach those that don't know, how to navigate our way out of this cycle that we get into every single year. Am I beyond it? No, not at all. And this is the formula that I'm going to share with you so that you too can come out of it and stay out of it. Because with the world behaving this way, it's really, really hard to stay centered and highly effective if we don't have certain measures in place. Now, let's look at what we can expect in the month of December. Seasonally, if you look at the season changing, December is the start of winter and summer, depending on which hemisphere you're in. We have a lot of listeners from America on this podcast and this channel. So I would love to invite you to think about what are those lifestyle and diet changes that you need to make to help you support yourself for this transition that's taking place. We're moving from a transition season to an extreme season, which is either hot or cold. And this calls for a good review of what you need to be eating, how you need to be acting in relation to what sort of plans you've got to be highly effective. Ayurveda covers a lot of this. If you're curious about it, check out information on Ayurveda as well. Second is the Christmas holidays. You may not be Christian or that you may not have a religious tie to it, but the whole world is celebrating this, and there will be a lot of things to do with gift giving, going to events, celebrating with others, And the whole world is celebrating the completion energy. So if you feel left out of that, then you might be faced with a little bit of conflict inside of you. And that's completely natural. But just know that we're not all in a celebratory mode. We're not all going through the same kind of life experiences. So just be mindful that this month will bring up that sort of a divide. A lot of people will be grieving. Maybe they lost some people in the year, or maybe they don't have the loved one that they used to have during December. It's a time for grieving as well for many people. And lastly, it's a time where, consumerism will be very high. If you're in business, be prepared to receive more inquiries and more customers in this month. Now, if you haven't set yourself up, then you must work on that for next year, because December is the month that people are likely to buy gifts, especially gifts that are good for us, especially gifts that we can gift on. So if you're in business and you're not set up to do that, I highly recommend working with a coach to work that out for yourself. If you're not in business, you're in a company or an organization, or perhaps you've got a job where you serve customers and you're a service provider, then you will face a lot of challenges, because there will be an influx in customer inquiries. People want to close things up, and a lot of things become urgent in this month. So this is the kind of energy that we're going to head into in December, whether we like it or not. But when it comes to leadership, we lead ourselves by knowing one thing. And Stephen Covey is the author that I refer to when I look at how can I stay centered and highly effective. He said, start with the end in mind. And what he meant by that is start with knowing what you want every single day. If you are unclear about what it is that you're working towards, what your goals are in this week, next week, the month, the bi-year, or the whole year, then that's your gap. So starting with the end in mind looks like that we are clear about what's our purpose, what is our goal, why are we doing what we're doing, why are we connecting or not connecting, and on it goes. But we ask ourselves what it is that we are working towards today, every single day, and that's what it looks like when you know you're working with the end in mind. When we don't work with the end in mind, then what tends to happen is we will move forward for a certain amount of time, but then we'll find ourselves lost again. I was sharing in the workshop last week how certain goals, we have all been guilty of this, and I guess there's nothing to feel bad about because nobody really educates us on all of this, how to set the right goals for us. You might have set a health goal or a money goal or a relationship goal, but as soon as you achieve it, then you go back to your old habits again. The biggest reason why this happens is because we don't have the end in mind, which is that dream life that you're trying to create. You are not sure of what that is for you. And if you haven't sat down with anybody to clarify that for you, then you're going to be continuing to create the same problems, which become repetitive goals for you every single year. One such problem that I used to face myself was with money. Every year I would just struggle with spending money, receiving money, making money. The same kind of problems will happen because there were certain gaps in my knowledge, certain skill gaps. And so until I worked it out with my coach about what my goals are, what my vision is, what my values are, I wasn't able to move forward on my journey. So these are the things that you need to also figure out for you to have the end in mind, especially in this month. Goals will change when your vision won't. So your ultimate thing that you're working towards every day is the goal that's getting you toward your vision. And if you'd like to find out more, please go and join our Facebook group, which is where you'll find the actual recording of last week's webinar, where I shared the 8 steps to creating the life of your dreams, but also break down what is the incorrect goal and what is the correct goal for everybody. So many times we set ourselves up for failure, which is not failure, it's feedback, but we tend to repeat certain patterns every cycle. And this is because we haven't learned how to set meaningful goals, and therefore we don't really have a purpose behind what we do. Now, you might say December is, the purpose is celebration. This is the month where everybody celebrates. Like I said, culturally, this is what's happening, but really energetically, what's happening right now is we've just entered a new moon cycle. So we've set new intentions. So we're going to work towards those. Second is we're working towards our new year's objectives. If you're in business, you would already know these objectives, goals, financial targets, right? And same thing on a personal level. What is it that you're going to work towards to free yourself up to cultivate the next level of your life? If you feel like you've been stuck at a certain level for a very long time, then that's telling you that you have not been getting clear about the end in mind, which then formulates what goals you need to set, the actual goals that you will take you toward the end that you're trying to create. And that end might be a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 10 year, 20 year goal, but you've got smaller goals to take you there. And that's what is formulated through working out your vision, values, and then goals. And it happens in that order. Because if you don't have that vision, then you won't know how to behave. You won't know what goals you need to set. And so ultimately there is a disconnection, and therefore you tend to repeat exactly what you've done before. And here we are, January comes and here we are. I've spent too much money on things that I didn't need. I overgave, I'm feeling so tired, and it's the new year and I feel like my health is crap, right? These are the things that end up happening because we didn't align our actions to the end that we are working towards. Hope I made sense. So my friend, who is Stephen Covey? Stephen Covey is the guy that wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People back in 1989. How did I find out about it is through my amazing mentor, Brendon Burchard. He wrote his book called The High Performance Habits, which is where, he shares all of Stephen Covey's work plus his own research and his own methods. But Stephen Covey is like the guy, the voice for a lot of gurus for high performance and effectiveness of being successful. And one of these, habits that we must develop is to always start our days with the end in mind. And that micro habit becomes the macro habit, which is you want to be in your day, but then what does that day do for the next day, the week, the month, the year, right? So that's how we've got to think. So we've got to think of what's the 12 months I'm working towards, and how do I need to make things happen today or this week to be able to get there in 12 months' time. And it's not just money, it's not just assets, that you will set those goals as well. But it is also about the person that you are becoming, which is what does a highly effective version of you look like? Who can achieve those goals? Who can make themselves, have the mastery to get there? And mastery, you create it through staying committed, right? And that's why I share so much about self-mastery, because on my journey, on my 17-year journey, what I've learned is you could have all the knowledge on this planet. You could be given all the systems and tools, but are you going to use them? What's going to help you use them and take the next step on your journey is developing personal mastery, self-mastery, which is the ability to show up, the ability to stay consistent, and to incrementally keep growing into that best version of yourself who has all those things, who does all those things, who has those abilities to contribute and make difference, So it doesn't happen overnight, as you already are familiar, but if you don't start now, then you won't get there that much faster. The story that comes to mind is about my client that I shared about in How to Be Organized Part 1. The video is up here, and I just met her yesterday, and she said, Supriya, you wouldn't believe how much I got through by just doing half an hour every day. And this is that 1% rule. And she said, I don't even need 10 hours a week like the course coordinator said I would. And the reason is because, what the world tells us is not always true, because until you know what your potential is, and the only way you're going to know your potential is by taking action, then you won't know. You'll never know. So this is why it's so important that you work with someone that's going to help you stay accountable and take the next steps. This is why I've opened up 5 spots this year for 5 women to work with me one-on-one on their personal mastery. It's a 3-step program where you go through and work out your vision, values, goals, and also overcome one of the biggest blocks that you're facing right now toward taking that action in your life that's going to help you get back your self-confidence, that belief, and then keep moving towards that vision of your life. If you would love to work with me, then please be in touch. The links are all in the description section below. Now, watch the video on shadow work that I created next, because that's going to help you be equipped with the emotional stuff that you're going to face this month. Also, watch the video on How to Be Organized Part 2 that I created last week, which is going to teach you how to say no to things that are not aligned to you. And lastly, I want to remind you that you might not think that how you behave, how much you invest in yourself being a better person, that nobody's seeing that. You might think that, but believe me, you are making a difference. There is always a ripple effect in the good work that you put in. So please keep going. Please stay on track. This December is the month that we all together get to practice what we preach, which is, we are going to be challenged by everybody else's values. We are going to be challenged by what everybody else wants us to be. But how do you stay centered is have the end in mind. Listen, if you found this podcast or video helpful on your journey, please leave me a review on the podcast. A 5-star review would be awesome to end this month with, and I would love to hear from you about anything that you're thinking of, or just leave a review and I know what you're thinking. If this podcast made a difference in your life, share it with a friend, share it with a family member, get everybody else on your team and let them know how you're thinking right now. That it's not about the temporary highs, it's about the long-term vision, that life that you're creating through every second decision that you're making, it's all counting towards that bigger version of yourself. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. See you next week.